You see a dog across the street, you've never met this dog, you have zero history with it, no reason to care, no connection whatsoever. And yet, before your brain even registers what's happening, your hand is already reaching out, your fingers curled. You crouch down on the sidewalk and whisper, "Hi, baby," to a complete stranger's golden retriever, like it's the most natural thing in the world. Here's the thing, it actually is. This isn't a personality trait. It's not something only animal lovers do. This is a universal, cross-cultural, deeply neurological human behavior that cuts across every background, every language, every culture on Earth. And almost nobody can explain why it really happens. The science behind this urge goes way deeper than animals are cute. We're talking brain chemistry, nerve fibers, evolutionary biology, and a bond between humans and animals that stretches back tens of thousands of years. And that's exactly where we're going right now. If this already sounds like something you needed to hear, go ahead and hit that like button. It genuinely helps. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And drop a comment below. Have you ever stopped everything just to pet a random dog on the street? Because same? The easy answer is that animals are cute. You see a puppy, you feel something warm, end of story. But that answer is lazy, and honestly, it sells the whole thing way short. What's actually happening inside your brain when you see a fluffy animal is far more specific, far more ancient, and far more powerful than a vague feeling of awe. Back in 1943, an Austrian ethologist named Konrad Lorenz introduced a concept he called Kinderschema baby schema. His idea was that certain physical features trigger caregiving instincts in adult humans almost automatically. Big round eyes, a large forehead, chubby cheeks, a small chin, soft and uncoordinated movements. Evolution built these features into human infants specifically so that adults would feel compelled to protect them. It's not random. It's a biological exploit wired directly into your brain. But here's the part that changes everything. Your brain doesn't run a species check. It doesn't stop and ask, wait, is this actually a human baby? It sees those features, the round face, the wide eyes, and it fires the caregiving circuitry anyway. That protective, nurturing response you feel toward a puppy you just met. That's the same neurological system that bonds parents to their children, hijacked by a dog. And Lorenz figured all of this out with almost no brain imaging technology. Decades later, when researchers finally put people inside fMRI machines and showed them photos of baby animals, he turned out to be exactly right. The brain lights up in regions tied to reward, emotional processing, and motivation. Looking at a cute animal isn't passive. It's a full neurological event happening inside you, whether you asked for it or not. And the moment you actually reach out and touch one, a completely different layer of this kicks in. So your brain has already pushed you toward the animal. The caregiving circuitry fired, the reward system lit up, and now your hand is moving. But the moment you actually make contact, the moment your fingers touch that soft, warm fur, something completely separate kicks in. And this part is just as fascinating, maybe even more so. Here's something most people never think about. Touch isn't one single sense. It's actually a collection of different sensory systems running simultaneously beneath your skin. Your body is covered in specialized nerve fibers that each respond to different kinds of physical contact: pressure, vibration, temperature, texture. And among all of these, there is one type that stands out in a remarkable way. They're called C-tactile afferents, and they are almost perfectly tuned to one specific kind of touch: slow, gentle, soft stroking at a speed of roughly 1 to 10 centimeters per second. What makes these fibers so special is where they send their signals. Most sensory input goes straight to the somatosensory cortex, the part of your brain that maps where and how you're being touched. But C-tactile afferents bypass that and send signals directly to areas associated with social bonding, emotional processing, and reward. These fibers don't just register touch. They make touch feel meaningful. Deeply, emotionally meaningful, like it matters, like it counts for something. And here's where it all connects. Running your hand slowly over soft animal fur activates C-tactile afferents almost perfectly. The warmth, the texture, the gentle resistance, it's as if fur was specifically designed to interface with this exact neurological system, that calm, deeply satisfying feeling you get when you pet a dog or a cat. That's not just comfort, that's a bonding pathway lighting up inside your nervous system. And what that pathway releases next is something you've definitely heard of before: That chemical we've been building toward, oxytocin, is often called the bonding hormone or the love hormone, and those names aren't exaggerations. It's the same chemical that surges through a mother the moment she holds her newborn for the first time, the same one that rises between two people falling in love. It's the neurochemical foundation of the deepest, most lasting bonds that humans are capable of forming. And just a few minutes of petting a dog is enough to measurably raise oxytocin levels in your bloodstream. That alone is remarkable. But here's the part that genuinely changes how you see the whole thing. When researchers measured oxytocin levels during human-animal interaction, they didn't just measure the humans, they measured the dogs too. And what they found is one of the most quietly stunning discoveries in the science of animal bonding. The dog's oxytocin levels rise at the same time. Simultaneously, the same neurochemical event happening in two different species in the same moment. Think about what that actually means. You locked eyes with a stranger's dog on the sidewalk, you crouched down, you ran your hand through its fur, slowly, gently activating those C-tactile afferents, flooding your system with oxytocin. And while that was happening inside you, it was happening inside the dog too. You both, without planning it, without knowing each other, without sharing a single word, fell a little bit in love. That's not a metaphor. That's measurable biology doing exactly what it was designed to do. This bond between humans and animals isn't accidental, and it isn't modern. The neurochemical machinery we just described didn't appear overnight. It has roots that go back tens of thousands of years, and understanding where it actually came from makes everything we've talked about hit even harder. So why fur, specifically? Why does your hand instinctively reach for a dog and not for a concrete wall? The answer isn't random. It's actually written into your nervous system from the very beginning of your life. The first sensations you ever experienced as a human being were warmth and softness, skin against skin, fabric, the weight and heat of another body close to yours. Before you had language, before you had conscious memory, your nervous system was already learning. Soft and warm equals safe. That association never went away. It just went deep. When your hand lands on something warm, soft, and slightly yielding like the fur of an animal, your autonomic nervous system reads it as the presence of a living being, and that single input is enough to begin shutting down your threat response. Heart rate drops, skin conductance decreases, cortisol, your primary stress hormone, starts to fall. Your body isn't making a decision. It's following a program installed before you could think. One that associates tactile warmth with protection, with closeness, with not being alone. And then there's the purring. A cat sitting in your lap, completely indifferent to your existence, vibrating at somewhere between 25 and 50 hertz. Is doing something that sounds almost too strange to be real. That specific frequency range has been documented by researchers as a promoter of bone healing, inflammation reduction, and soft tissue recovery. Physical therapists are currently developing treatment protocols using vibrations in that exact range. That cat isn't showing you affection. It's not even paying attention to you. And yet, accidentally, completely on its own terms, it is doing something that functions like physical therapy on your body. The warmth, the texture, the vibration, the oxytocin, the bonding circuitry, all of it stacks. And when you zoom out and ask why humans and animals developed this kind of connection in the first place, the answer goes back much further than most people expect. Here's something you've definitely done and probably never stopped to question. You knew you should ask before petting that dog. The cat had already flicked its tail twice, which, if you speak cat, is basically a written warning. You reached out anyway, not because you made a decision, because your hand was already moving before the decision happened. That's not a lack of discipline. That's approach motivation, firing ahead of conscious thought. And it happens every single time your brain identifies something rewarding nearby. But the impulse doesn't stop at wanting to touch. It gets stranger, because at some point, standing in front of a puppy or a tiny kitten, you've probably felt something that doesn't quite make sense, this bizarre, almost aggressive urge to squeeze it, to say something like, "I'm going to eat you," to make a threatening face at something you would absolutely never harm. If you've felt that, you're not alone and you're not broken. Researchers actually have a name for it: cute aggression. Scientists at Yale studied this phenomenon, and what they found is genuinely fascinating. Cute aggression is a regulatory response. When something triggers an overwhelmingly positive emotional reaction more than your system can comfortably process at once, your brain generates an opposing negative impulse to compensate and restore balance. The stronger the flood of positive emotion from seeing an adorable animal, the stronger the urge to counteract it with something that looks on the surface like aggression. So when you look at a puppy and feel that wild urge to squeeze it into oblivion, what that actually means is that your emotional system is working exactly as designed. It's just completely overloaded. The animal in front of you generated more joy than your brain knew what to do with. And if that's what happens just from seeing and touching an animal, what happens when that connection becomes something long-term and consistent is an entirely different story. This impulse to connect with animals isn't something that only modern humans experience. It runs deeper than culture, deeper than civilization. Wild primates, animals with no concept of pets, no Instagram feeds full of kittens, no social conditioning around animal companionship have been observed forming bonds with other species that serve absolutely no survival purpose. And then there's Coco, a gorilla who learned sign language, who over the course of her life chose several cats as companions, named them, cared for them with a gentleness that her researchers documented carefully. When one of those cats died, Coco produced signs that the people who knew her best interpreted as grief, a gorilla mourning a cat. The drive to bond across species isn't a human quirk. It's something that runs through primate biology at a fundamental level. But the most staggering dimension of all of this is what happened between humans and dogs specifically. This isn't a relationship that's a few centuries old. We're talking about 15,000 to 40,000 years of mutual adaptation to species, gradually, continuously reshaping each other through coevolution. Dogs follow human pointing gestures spontaneously, intuitively, without training. Wolves, raised by humans from birth, do not do this. That difference isn't trivial. It means dogs developed a specific attunement to human communication that wolves simply never acquired. And then there's the anatomy. Dogs evolved a facial muscle, the levator anguli oculomédialis, that is either absent or severely underdeveloped in wolves. That single muscle is responsible for the puppy eyes expression, the one that makes your chest tighten, the one that makes you reach into your pocket, open your door, extend your hand. Dogs didn't develop that muscle by accident. They developed it because over tens of thousands of years of living alongside humans, the ones who could produce that expression got more food, more shelter, more care. Evolution selected for the look that unlocks the human heart. Which means the next time a dog looks up at you with those eyes, you're not just seeing cuteness, you're seeing the result of an ancient negotiation between two species that decided, somewhere along the way, that they needed each other. We treat the urge to stop and pet every animal we pass like it's a quirk, a charming flaw, the reason we show up late and blame a dog we met on the sidewalk. But what that impulse is actually pointing to is something ancient and something real. Touch is how mammals communicate safety to each other. It's how we regulate each other's nervous systems. It's how we say, without a single word, I'm here, you're not alone, everything is okay. Your brain still expects to be near things that are warm, soft, and alive. That's not weakness. That's biology that hasn't forgotten what it needs. If this video made something click for you, drop the word connected in the comments right now. And if you made it all the way here, that already tells me something about you. Leave a like before you go. It genuinely helps more people find content like this. And if your brain is still running on this topic, the next video is right there on your screen. And it goes even deeper into how your mind works in ways you've never thought to question.